Okay, Kendra.
Yeah, you're in the frame.
Cool. Hi, hey everyone. My name is Kendra Claiborne, and I'm excited to kind of be talk with you guys tonight. I am a computer science undergrad at UB in my final semester, and I was invited to speak to you all by Wendy just to kind of talk about kind of what I'm doing in a sense as an intern that you guys could find useful in your own day to day with learning programming. I'm going to talk about a tool that I utilize at my current position that I just was reintroduced into these past 3 months, and it's really cool. And I'm hoping that you guys, if you find it interesting, you might take some time out to kind of interact with it at your your personal time. So just to kind of introduce, first, the company that I'm a part of, it was a startup, and it was called Cloud 62. They were part of the startup New York, and it was founded by a guy named Raj Shujak. We are currently in the University at Buffalo's Educational Opportunity Center. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that building. It's kind of downtown area, so right in the city of Buffalo. And so what we kind of do is we work with Salesforce, and Salesforce is a platform that you can utilize. I'll explain that a bit more. But in my position, I'm a developer, so we interact with clients who utilize the Salesforce platform, and they have requirements that they need, or they have an existing organization that they want to maybe improve on. So we come in as kind of like consultants, and we provide them with the best practice for how they can leverage their current environment, or kind of new ways that they can interact with their customer base. And we were recently acquired by a public company called Huron Consulting Group this past October. And that's been a really great kind of change for me. Not too much because I'm an intern. I don't really get all the benefits. But for everyone else, it's great. So it's been really good. We're hoping that with Huron, the part that we're being acquired through, that we can help their current client customer base leverage their Salesforce, whether that be, kind of providing kind of new ways, more complex kind of instances for what they're doing. And just kind of get the ball rolling and bring in more clients, and kind of just help leverage the clients that they currently have. So just to talk about Salesforce, because that's kind of going to be the big topic for today. It is a CRM tool that also kind of acronym for that is Customer Relationship Management, and it's a kind of like a tool that you can use. That say you have say you're a client and you want to be able to interact with your customers. You have a relationship with them, and you want to either foster new relationships or kind of expand on, kind of what you're already doing with them. So you have data that you have about these customers, and you want to be able to access kind of like a web-based, which is Salesforce, it's cloud-based, so you access it through the browser. You want to be able to go to one place, one tool that you can access and use, rather than kind of having various different tools. It kind of brings it all into one, and it allows you to kind of what it says here, an approach to managing a company's interaction with current and future customers. It often involves using technology to organize, automate, and synchronize sales, marketing, customer service, and technical support. So I'll kind of give you guys a scenario to kind of make that definition maybe a little bit more simplified. So Salesforce has these kind of like two objects. They're called opportunities and leads. And say you have a client who's in sales, maybe sales marketing, and you have a sales agent, and they want to, it's coming towards the end of the quarter, they have a goal that they need to meet, and they want to see maybe a new lead that they can kind of acquire, be able to hit their quarterly goals. So this sales agent, they could be a part of a company that sells product distribution. So they sell products in bulk. And say one of the products they sell is coffee. So one of their leads could be Starbucks. So they want to try to create a relationship with Starbucks. So they have this lead in Salesforce, and now they need to create an opportunity with this lead in order to be able to generate a relationship. So kind of the steps of process is you have a lead in Salesforce, and it's kind of like almost like an object. If you're familiar with Java, it's like just an object basically, and you provide their name, basic information about that company. So you want to create an opportunity saying that, okay, this can be a prospective sell that we can have. We can bring them on in a way to generate more finances for the sales company. So you have this opportunity and you're going, it's kind of like a flow. So you acquire the lead and you have interactions with them, and say you close the deal, and then that means the opportunity has various statuses. So whether you close it, you're successful, or it was canceled, maybe it was unsuccessful, you didn't force that relationship. It allows the sales agent to visually see the flow of this interaction with Starbucks in this case. It kind of allows you to come to one place so you can kind of visually see, what's going on. And Salesforce is kind of like, it's just a great tool to be able to utilize to I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. It just keeps the flow of things going really well, and it allows them to kind of visually see what's going on. They also provide, it's kind of like a big database. So it has a lot of data in it, and you can graphically see, what's going on. You can kind of tap into, say for the sales agent, they can tap into regions that they aren't quite hitting, and they can be able to see, okay, maybe we can tap into this region, maybe foster some new relationships there, and kind of go from there, maybe generate, more relationships, or establish the current relationship that you have, kind of improve on those. I don't really deal with that side too much. I'm more of just a developer, so I actually do the implementation and creating, but that side is more administrators, which I don't know too much about, but it's cool to kind of know about. But what I'm excited to talk about is the technologies that Salesforce provides, and that is Apex and Visualforce. So Apex is a object-oriented programming language, very similar to Java. It has kind of the same idioms that Java has, your for loops, your standard data structures. Anything that you can do in Java, you pretty much can do with Apex. And so if you're familiar with object-oriented programming, you can easily kind of learn Apex and start just coding away and just doing really cool things. You can also use other languages like JavaScript is available to it. So if you're familiar with programming, you pretty much can start just coding away with Apex, and it's really cool. Let's see what else we have. So Apex is very data focused, so you can do a lot of SQL call statements with it as well, which is really cool. Say you have some data somewhere, a client gives you data that they want to be able to access within Salesforce. We can go ahead and upload that data into Salesforce and kind of manipulate it, add to it, just do any type of, anything that you can do with SQL, you pretty much can do with, it's called SQL. And that's pretty cool. And I'll kind of give you guys a demonstration of what it is, so you can have a more visual feel for what it kind of looks like. So yeah, basically if you know how to program, you know how to Apex. So I'll give you guys a quick example of what it is. Can everyone kind of see? Okay, cool. So basically Apex has these things called triggers. And triggers pretty much, they fire based on some condition. So say you have it where you want to update a field in a record, and I can show you guys what a record looks like. So say you want to update some field in a record, and rather than kind of automating it, you want it to happen every single time that some condition changes. So maybe a field, you had a status field that changed to maybe like paid, say a credit card statement, it changed to paid, and you want it to fire like, okay, this have a check mark, maybe some checkbox, turn from false to true. Apex triggers can do that. And just to kind of show you the similarity between Apex and Java, you have a typical data structure for a set that takes types of strings. You have your typical for loop. You also have your typical SQL statement where you can just kind of grab information from an object. So in this case, we have this thing called trigger.new. So trigger.new contains a list of IDs of all updated versions of an object. So say you had, as I was saying, you have a field that recently changed. So that field that changed is going to be a part of this trigger.new. It's going to be a part of that list. And that trigger is going to run over that list of IDs in order to allow something to change. In this case, we're just adding it to the set that we have here in order to query over that set and then kind of do some other changes somewhere else in the code. In this case, we're doing a kind of a message, that displays that opportunity already exists for another order. So this code pretty much takes it where it has an opportunity and it has a order that is assigned to this opportunity, and it checks all it takes that order and it says, okay, this order exists for this opportunity. You can no longer make that order for any other opportunities, and any other new opportunities or existing ones. No others can have this order assigned to it. So pretty much that's what this trigger is doing. And it's a very small code, but it's very very useful for this particular client that we were working with. So, does anyone have any questions so far? Or, yeah.
What was an opportunity? Is that like a coupon code, sort of? Like what?
So an opportunity. So I didn't explain it, I guess, as well. So opportunity is just an object, and you can have multiple records of opportunities, and each opportunity has various fields. So say you want to establish an opportunity with a lead called Starbucks. You just have just this standard object page, and it just has different fields of information. It can include maybe a contact name, which would be Starbucks, an account name. It can contain, what else can it have? It can have related lists to opportunity, like other opportunities that could be associated with it, because you can establish various relationships in Salesforce as well. So it's just like I can kind of give you a visual example of it. It'll probably make more sense, but it's just a page that has various information that are defined by fields. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. So the other technology that Salesforce provides is called Visualforce. So Visualforce is kind of like the, I guess to be simplified, is it kind of provides the visual aesthetics to Salesforce, and allows you to kind of customize based upon the default kind of settings that you have. So you have this default page that that is provided, and say you want to add something or take something away. Visualforce allows you to do that. So it's basically a tag base, very similar to HTML, very easy to pick up as well. And you kind of have two elements of it. You have the Visualforce markup, which includes the tags, the HTML tags, and it kind of allows you to create the visual aesthetics of how the page is going to look. So you can have buttons, text box, input fields, output fields. You kind of define where everything is laid out on the page. And then you have a Visualforce controller, which is kind of like an Apex class. And it allows you to kind of do like those SOAP statements, so you're pulling in information that you may want to display onto the actual Visualforce page. You can also define the behaviors of how it works. So when a user clicks on maybe a button, the controller defines what happens after they click on that button. And I'll kind of show you guys an example of that one as well just now. So I'm logged into one of the environments that we use. So I'll kind of give an example of how a Visualforce markup page looks. It's pretty big. Okay, so in this, so normally when we start off with a Visualforce page, we create the controller, because that's how we get the data that that's actually going to be displayed on the page.
Could you want to dig in that just a little bit?
Let me see.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay, cool. So yeah. I know when I first started 3 months ago, a lot of this was kind of like mumbo jumbo to me, because I wasn't familiar with SQL, so I had no clue of what that was. But kind of as you go along, you kind of pick up things. So kind of what we have up here is class level variables, and we have mutators that we can use. And actually the markup class that I'm going to show afterwards, we can call, say like this, maybe this order date. We can call that in our markup class, and that will be actually displayed onto the Visualforce page. So you're defining it here in the class, but and we have them as mutators so that we can actually pull that information and display it onto the Visualforce. What else can we show?
A mutator is basically, mutators are just functions that let you get or set a property on an object.
Exactly. So you can kind of, like that order date that I had defined, if we were to
What's that?
go to that, we can see that we're setting it in our is this a method? Yeah, in our method. In our constructor, we don't. It's just a regular default blank constructor. But a lot of times in the visual force controllers, you can have the constructor be, you can have it defined, you can have, different things in it, but in this case we didn't. So order date, we can assign it to system.date today, which just pulls wherever today's date is, and it assigns it to that variable. And then and we can easily call that in the markup page and have it display, and I'll show that in a few minutes. Let's see if there's anything else relevant here. So yeah, kind of in this class we do a lot of kind of looping over list and kind of assigning things based on certain conditions. Like in this case, if we have it where a due date, let's really highlight that. If a due date is null, we want to assign it to one of our objects, and this object is called a subscription line. This particular environment that we're working with, it's like a subscription. It's for a subscription-based company, so they have it where they're kind of pulling a lot of payments based on credit card information, payment methods, things like that. They're having. So subscription line is a specific subscription that you have for maybe a product, and the product could be like maybe like coffee beans or something, or like maybe like a movie that you want. Maybe like a movie company, they send you movies every month. That could be a product. So if the due date is null, we have it assign it to something, and we can actually pull that into the markup class as well. So yeah, and I'll show you that markup class because I think it's more interesting. So we have it where that due date, we assigned it, and as you can see, we can, if we call this apex paran tag, it allows us to actually display it on the page, just like a typical HTML. You call something and you want it to display, and we have this special kind of like, I guess syntax in the case, where you use a exclamation mark, and that means that you're referring to a variable in the controller class. And the way that they actually connect to each other is you just call the controller class up here, component controller, and that's how it knows, okay, we're pulling variables from this controller class. So they have this association with each other. And so I can kind of give a quick example of what occurs based on that visual force. This is a email template. Ooh, that's my connection. Let's see, I can have it again. Okay, so this here, no, that's sad. That's so upsetting. Let's see.
Yes, that's how live demos go.
All the time.
I introduce in case that's doing something.
I got disconnected too.
Okay,
yeah,
so it's not
it must be like a timing thing.
Well, that's waiting to connect. So this is a email template. It's HTML based, and so pretty much this one is used for, say someone made a payment for a product that they purchased. They will receive this receipt in their email notifying, hey, you received this, and this is any other amount that is due. It kind of provides them. So it's like just a payment receipt that they kind of receive.
It's interesting to see how similar the template and the control system is to Angular. Have you ever used that?
I haven't.
So it's a front-end framework from Google, and the template and the controller are almost identical to Apex.
That's cool.
Except that it's just HTML instead of another language, and it's just JavaScript instead of Apex.
Yeah, exactly.
So the template, you write the mustaches, the bracket syntax, where you want variables to go.
Yeah, to show up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a nice way
Yeah,
to describe it.
Well, it comes from
Chicken
mustache.
mustaches.
Yeah, it's a template framework. But yeah, the mustaches are the curly braces. Because if you say braces, no one. It's either brackets
it
or
could be
braces.
either
So you
one.
say mustaches
that a
and
lot.
yeah.
Okay, good.
Nice. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Apex, as long as you know like JavaScript or HTML, you can just start creating classes or creating, kind of just anything that you want to set up. And it's really helpful for allowing you to customize Salesforce, because I've realized kind of working with it these past, I think like 3 months, it has a lot of limitations. So being able to kind of have that background and be able to provide more than what the client kind of requires. Because a lot of times they have these weird requirements. It's just like,
Yeah,
we're gonna
clients
need to
never
do
have weird
more.
requirements.
Yeah.
They're always normal.
Never. So it's really useful. I think I'm connected. Yeah. So this one takes so I can actually kind of go through the flow before I get to there. So this email template requires a payment as well as a customer's kind of like customer ID. So what we can start with is the payment requires some form of a product. So this is basically a product object record. It's one instance of it, and they can have multiples. It kind of just lays, and this is the default schema for how majority of object records look. And you can also customize them with Visual Force pages if, say, you want to have like maybe a graph show up in one of these boxes. You can use Visual Force to display that. And these are kind of like the main fields. So you have like your product name, you have your product ID, and normally the ID is right up in the address bar, and that's really useful. It has all these other fields that you either add through customization or it comes default through Salesforce. But I think this product here, I think products are default objects in Salesforce, and you can add additional fields to them based on the requirements that you need. So every payment needs to have a product, and how we have that relationship between a payment and a product is through a subscription line. So you have a subscription line which has a payment, and they're basically kind of the same thing. But they allow you to have this joint relationship. It kind of acts as the middleman between the product and the payment. And so here we have the subscription line, and we have that payment that we want, which I have over here. So if I take the ID of it and we add it to the test, and we'll see an example of what that Visual Force page kind of does. It has, you kind of define, you have to manually write tags out for the blocks and for the images, and it's really cool because you can pretty much do what you would normally do with HTML, just it's through Visual Force. And the main thing that we're looking at here is it pulls in that product based on that relationship to the subscription line, to the product name. It takes description, it takes the amount that you have to pay, it takes a recurring charge, and the amount due. The amount due is a one-time fee, and that means that they haven't paid their one-time fee yet, they've only paid their recurring charge, so that kind of shows them, okay, these are your future payments that you have to make. But I just kind of wanted to kind of show that example just so you guys can kind of see, the code into the actual, I guess the end product of it in a sense of what it does. It's actually one of the bigger coding classes that we have, but it does so little. In a sense, all it does is just that one little thing. But it's cool, and it's nice to see, kind of after writing for hours, it kind of just show, what you wanted it to do. And it's pretty useful. I think it's in effect in their production org, because what I'm logged into now is called a sandbox. A sandbox organization, I believe that's what they call it, or environment, sandbox environment. So that's where we do our development in. So we can have our test code, whatever new requirements they have, we start up from this base, and then once it works as they want it to, we go ahead and we deploy it. It's called a deploy set. We deploy it into production, and then there it's like live, and they actively use it. That was it for that. Did you guys have anything you maybe wanted to see in the Salesforce possibly?
So for Apex and what was the other one? Oh, Visual Force.
Yeah.
So does Salesforce provide you with an IDE to edit that with, or can you just use whatever you want?
You can use whatever you want. So I like to use, they have this thing called Developer Console, which comes with Salesforce, and I'll just quickly kind of show. It's a very basic, I wouldn't even consider it an IDE, But
This
you
is
can,
text code.
it's there if you need, just do something quick. It's I usually use it because since I'm an intern, I don't really have a need to have all the code base in a sense because I work on very small projects, more so assignments. But the IDE that I personally like to use as of now is IntelliJ. That one's really cool, and I've used it a few times for some of the assignments that I do, and it's nice. It's really kind of does the highlighting for you, so you don't have to know everything, which is always cool. But yeah, that you can use any IDE. I think some of the guys in the office use. We were just talking about it. Oh man, I can't recall the name of it right now. I had to look through my emails.
JetBrains might be another one.
Yeah.
Probably what? Well,
Well, aren't they related?
Oh, JetBrains is in IntelliJ, yeah.
but they make the other one WebStorm.
WebStorm. Yeah. That's probably not used with Apex.
That wouldn't make sense. Yeah.
Eclipse, they might use it with.
They use Eclipse sometimes. Yeah, I know there's another one that they've been actively using because it has Maven and inside of it, and
Emacs.
Maven. Which one?
Emacs.
Emacs. I don't think it's that
Everything's
one.
inside of Emacs.
It might be. I have to check my emails. I'm gonna look through. We
It's
were
probably
just
not
talking about it. Yeah, I don't think it was that one though. But yeah, they use there's something that they all use, and that I probably should start using too. So they can see what I'm doing, and we can all be on the same branches, and nothing's crazy. But yeah, that's what we normally. But I usually use the developer console just because it's quick, and most of the things I'm doing aren't really large projects. Let me see.
Do you know if there's a way to determine whether you should use Apex or Visual Force or just the workflows and processes within? Is there recommendation?
Yeah, I know workflows are really cool for say you have maybe a really simple condition. You just want it to because workflows, if you have too many, they can really collide, and that's what I've been kind of hearing a lot about in the office. Because I don't do workflows often, but I heard that if you have too many, they can cause issues. But they're really useful for, I guess, really simple. Maybe a simple condition, maybe something you just want to update, periodically. Something that's not going to always be firing all the time. Because that can cause issues with maybe even the code that you're having, especially Apex triggers. They're always firing. So I know workflows and those kind of collide a lot at times. But I know in terms of what I do, I normally just always go straight to coding, just because it's you can really define it more. It allows you to really have more complex and more control over what's going to happen versus a workflow. You have these simple things that I feel like it kind of puts you into a box into what you can do and what you can't do. While versus code, you can define whatever you want it to do. So yeah, I would say I will always go more so with Apex Code or Visual Force, unless it's maybe a really simple thing that's not going to interfere with too many other things going on in the background.
Can you customize workflows? Could you define? Let's say I'm wholly unfamiliar with Salesforce.
Yeah.
This is just. Could you use Apex to enhance the workflow? So, for example, a non-programmer could.
I think I haven't tried it. I'm pretty sure you could. Say you have something where maybe it changes some field, maybe from a true to false or something. You can maybe use Apex to enhance it. Maybe at certain times, maybe it should run, or maybe the trigger because I always think of Apex triggers as workflows. You can have that where the workflow runs, and then maybe the trigger can kind of back off of that and do some other changes to it, to another field or something. But I haven't tried that. I haven't kind of used the two together. That would be cool. It could be useful. You never know with some of the things people ask. Trying to see. I haven't worked on any workflows in this specific environment, so I don't really have one I can show an example of, but I can kind of pull it up so we can kind of see what it looks like. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anyone that I might have done lately. Oh, let's open this one up here. Let's take a look. So yeah, workflows are actually really simple. Kind of just give it some criteria. So say it looks like they want to, this deals with a payroll, I don't think that was a payroll, a task object. And so it looks like it just looks for this field here, task, subject, if it contains some type of, I guess that string or that, as they call it, a value. Process payroll for, it will, what will it do? Let's see. It will update another field. And it will, what field is that going to be? It will be a type, field to update type. And it's a pick list. That's cool. So it looks like it changes the pick list value, which can basically have, you know, multiple options, kind of like a drop down box, and you can change, you can pick various different values. So it looks like that one, if that original field subject contains that string process something else, if it sees that it has that, it will go ahead and update this other field called type and change the pick list value of it. So workflows are, I would say, really good for something like this, really simple, nothing too complex. It's not doing multiple field updates that can have issues, especially if you have code that is also updating other fields and they're colliding. That can be, you know, really troublesome because you're manipulating data, so that's not keeping data integrity. That can also be a big issue. So workflows like that are really simple, and I think it works well for that one. But I haven't worked with this workflow, so I'm not sure how often it kind of fires and does its thing. But yeah, let me.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Ooh.
As you can tell, I've been struggling with this lately.
But yeah, if you have
Perfectly
anything
timed.
else that you want to ask, let
I'll
me
take you
know.
up on that.
So I also wanted to kind of just allude to opportunities at Huron Consulting Group. They are hiring. They're looking for senior and junior level Salesforce developers. So pretty much anyone who may have a computer science degree, or if you have programming background, you know, not everyone has a computer science degree. Some people just kind of pick up programming as a hobby. So if that's your thing, and if you're interested, let me know. I've only been here for a short time, but so far I would say I really do like it. It's kind of a good group of people. It's very guy related.
Yes.
So that's something
That's how it is most of the time.
yeah,
Mhm.
and that's something that I'm trying to hopefully change. If I was to be brought on with the company full time. So I'm actively looking for other women and minorities who are, you know, who want to come on to the group, who have, you know, experience. And even if you don't have experience, I know